We have to understand arrays, how are arrays made, which is declaration, how they are initialized, what are arrays, how do we populate them. The word population is for reading data into an array, means read all the values at all the locations of the array in one go and then searching for the array, and we might have the sorting and all operations. So let's see first thing, what is an array? An array is actually a memory location which is holding not one but many data items. Not one but many data items. So this whole structure is made in one memory location, which is consecutive. It is not scattered. System has then divided this structure into number of boxes, which are called elements, and then system numbered every division of this. Each of the number is called an index or subscript. The first box number or the first box's index or the first element's index is 1 and the last one is 4. The lowest index is called lower bound and the highest index is called upper bound. So unlike a variable, array may hold multiple values. All right, so first difference between a variable and array is that it may hold multiple values. All of the values are of the same data type. When the array is declared, it is made, computer is asked to create an array in computer's memory. Whatever the array that computer makes is of just one data type. Array is found in consecutive memory location. As I just suggested that whenever the array is made, it is made in one memory locations. Few people think that these divisions of the arrays might be scattered in memory, but no, they are not scattered. They are all in consecutive memory locations. Achha. It is static in nature. Static means when the program is being executed. When the program is being executed, during the execution, you cannot change the size of the array. It means if you have got more data to place in array, you are confined by the limit of these elements. You cannot place any more data. And if you have got less data in more places in the array, then that means that you would have to leave these places or elements empty. You cannot change the size of an array during the execution of program. This is called static. There are other data structures like linked lists and binary trees where during the execution of program you can make their sizes bigger or smaller on the go, but over here with the array it is not possible. Then there are two types of arrays. Single dimension array means array where there is just one column, and then two dimension arrays where we have got more than one columns, means it's not just extending in y direction, but it is extending in x direction as well. Means when there is just one column, it is single dimension array, and when there are multiple columns, more than one, it is two dimensional array. Now, declaration of arrays. Declaration is an act, a command to the computer to create any data structure in computer's memory. So array is a data structure. So let's see how do we create. Now we would have to pay attention to two things. In pseudocode, there is a clear way of declaring the array. in Visual Basic or other languages, there would be different ways doing it. For example, in Python, there is no specific way we can create array. There we use lists as array. So if you want to practice arrays in Python, you would have some trouble because you would have to use list as arrays. List by nature are a bit different than array, but you have to program in a way the array works. So that's why either I will be explaining arrays in pseudocodes or Visual Basic codes, but will be uploading codes in Python, so that those people who are learning in Python would have um, a clear understanding of it as well. The thing is that these declarations do not mean anything in Python. Python does not have declarations. So in Python, what we do, we write few comments which shows that what is the type of the variable or array and all. Anyways, so declaration in pseudocode. The word declare will be used. Declare, identify means the name of the array. We will use this colon as the word as, and then we would have to write the word array. It's a keyword, then lower bound and upper bound and of data type. Means if we like to create this array whose name is student grade, lower bound is 1, upper bound is 4, and the data type is actually character data type, which may hold just one character at a time. So the declaration would become declare student grade array as an array which starts from the lower bound 1 and ends at lower bound 4 of the data type character. All right, and if we declare the same array in Visual Basic, we would have to pass this command which is called dim, declare in memory. Few people call it dimension, but I believe that the better thing is declare in memory. Student grade, and then in parentheses all we have to do is to tell about the upper bound. The thing is, in Visual Basic, whenever the array is created, it is created from 0 and onwards, means the lowest index or the lower bound is always 0, but we make use of 1 first and we leave 0th index. The thing to solve whatever the example that we are going to use, we will always be using lower bound 1. So remember, in VB we only show upper bound, but VB when creates an array, it has upper bound plus 1 locations, but we will be only making use of 1 as a lower bound always. So let's go further. First thing is array initialization. Before we go into array initialization, let's revise types and sizes. Data types are integer and real, and every single integer variable or element in array will take 4 bytes. Then we have currency, date or time. They all take 8 bytes. If it is character or boolean, it always takes 1 byte. Then let's say, for example, we are using exam marks array. The name of this array is exam marks. It has got 4 places, 4 elements. So how do we declare this array? Declare exam marks as array starting from 1 as lower bound and ends at 4 as upper bound and of type integer. This is the declaration of this array. Now, how do we assign data to array? Before initialization, this is actually important, that how do we assign data to array? How do we keep data in an array? How do we actually place data in an array? So first thing, let's say I want to place at this location 73. Let's say these are exam marks for one of the students, for one of the subject. So how do we do that? Exam marks and this parenthesis or this large bracket or box bracket tells that we are going to use subscript, means index inside it. So whatever the number that you place inside it, will be regarded as the index. So in exam marks array at index 3, we are going to place 73, and there we go. 73 is placed in memory at location 3. Then this is constant. But if we like, we can actually create a variable and then we can use that variable as subscript or index. So here we have created n as a variable, integer variable, and we assigned 4 to it. It means that the value of n is now 4. So exam marks at index 4, we going to place 65.37, and there we go. It is now at this location. Now this I call power of array, which makes it easy for us to use for next loop. Since the lower bound and the upper bound of the array is known, we can always use for next loop. For single dimensional array, a simple for next is good enough. So it will start from 1 and will end at 4. Remember one thing, whatever the question of array that appear in exam will be expecting to perform the whole operation in one go. What does it mean, whole operation? Whole operation means if it is initialization, the whole array from first lower index to upper bound, lower bound, upper bound will be initialized. If the values are being input to the array, means it is being populated, it will be populated from lower bound to upper bound. If it is being searched, it will be searched fully. If it is being sorted, it will be sorted fully. So whatever the operation, initialization, population, searching, sorting, whatever, they all happen from lower bound to upper bound in one go. That's why the best loop, since the lower bound is known and upper bound is known, and same thing is happening with every single element of the array, is for next loop. So let's see. Now, so this 3 is index as constant and this n is variable as constant. All right. Now, a word about initialization. Initialization is actually an act of cleaning up the variables when they are freshly created. What does it mean, freshly created? The thing is that whenever we create variables or arrays, they take up some space in memory. That space might have been taken by another application which was using this location before. So when applications leave memory and operating system regard that memory area where that last application was loaded as free, that space is not cleaned. The application which was closed down on its way out does not clean up the space. It only leaves that space. It's like in a neighborhood, there is a plot, piece of land empty, and there is garbage in it. When the owner of that empty piece of land is selling that plot to someone else, the new person who acquires that, in order to build a home there, they will clean that plot first. So that is how it happens, that the space that we acquire for variables and arrays in the computer's memory, since it had an application earlier, when the application has left, it left all the data belong to that application over there. Only the difference is now that the space is available for us to capture. Now when we take that application's space for our variable, the data over there, which is now garbage for us, is assigned automatically to the variable that we are creating. That data is regarded as garbage for our system, so we have to clean it up. So how do we clean? Whenever we create variables of different data types, we clean them with some futile values. Those futile values, for any type of number, they are integer or real or currency, we initialize them with 0. Means whatever the data is there is cleaned up and 0 is placed there. And then Character, we just put double single quote there. Single quote means null, means nothing. Same happens with string, double quotation, null. Boolean is always initialized with false, and date and time, they are never initialized. There is no point making date and time 0. So the thing is that if you require to initialize date and time, so you would initialize it to the current date in current time. Now, for this array, which is exam marks array, we will run this for next loop. As we discussed, that for next is the best loop. So this for would go from lower bound to upper bound, from 1 to 4. So in first go of this loop, the index will be 1. So exam marks 1 will become 0. Then next index will become 2. Then this would become 0. So what is happening? When index is 1, element 1, which is exam marks 1, will become 0. When index is 2, in second loop, this location will become 0. When index is 3, this location becomes 0. When index is 4, this location becomes 0. So that is how when this whole loop ends, whole array is initialized to 0. That is what is initialization of single dimension array. Now, array size. The size of the array might be asked in two terms. Number one, how many elements are there? So that is very simple. You're going to count it. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 elements in there. And number two, what is the size of this whole array in bytes? As we have discussed, that there are different sizes for different data types. So for the integer, the size is 4. For integer, since this array is made up as integer, so every single element is 1 integer, and every single integer is of 4 bytes. So this will be elements, number of elements multiplied by type size. So now there are 4 by 4 will become 16. So it means that this particular array is holding up 16 bytes in computer's memory. That is how we count the size of the array. Now, populate. As I told you, that populate means that to take input from lower index to the upper index, from 1 to, let's say, 4, or in here in this particular example, it is from 1 to 100. We will run a for next loop, and we will take one input at a time, and we will place that value in subsequent element. So let's see what is actually happening. So let's say we have got an array student names. This student names array, I am actually making it with the connection to pre-release material, task 2, PRM 2020. So I have declared an array by the name student names. Remember, these identifiers should not have a space in it. So this is student names without space as an array which starts from 1, means lower bound is 1 and 200 of string data type. So this loop will work from 1 to 100. In every loop, a single variable will be taken input new student name, and will be placed in ith index of array student name. So when the I is 1, the name that you input will go to index location 1. Then it will ask you again, whatever the name that you put will be placed in 2. In third loop, I will be 3, the name will go to the third element. And this is how it's gonna ask you 100 times about the names of the student, and every student name will be placed in subsequent element of the array. Now, instead of taking a value in the name and then assigning that name to subsequent array location, we can take it directly in the array's location, array's index or element. Means instead of these two lines, I might have put input student names I, but somehow I see in past papers, it is preferred to take input in a variable and then to place it in subsequent array element. But the thing is, it is also possible. But sometimes, especially in O levels and AS level, I see that marks for input and assignment are being assigned in the marking scheme. So it is a good idea to take input in a separate variable and then assign that variable to the subsequent array location. Now, searching an array, as the population goes, the operation is over the complete array. Similarly, searching. So let's say we have got 100 student names. I want to search a particular name. Then I input that name in this variable, name to search. This might be a good identifier, but sometimes it is confusing. So it is name to search. So I input a name, and then this for next loop would go with every single location of the array and finds that name. And if it finds it, then it tells that it is found at this particular array element. This is the most raw form of searching. I'm going to look into it separately because that is again part of task 2.2 for searching, or task 2.1 for searching. So let's see. So we input one value that we need to search in an array if it is found or not. So what exactly happens that uh, X will be considered as an index, and this would go from 1 to 100, and then a value is taken from next subsequent location, which is student name 1 and assigned to n, and then system is matching both. If the value, the name at location 1 is as the value that was input and needs to be searched, if it is there, then an uh, output message is placed that that value is found at X location, and this goes on. Now suppose that in an array there are 100 names and I want to search for a name Mike, and if Mike is placed somewhere, it will be output, and if it is not, there would be nothing on screen. So this type of search, which goes from first element of the array to the last, and in every turn it matches the value with the value needs to be searched, is called linear searching. What do we call it? Linear searching. Linear searching, and sometimes we call it serial searching as well. Now,